Hello, somatic movement fans. I miss you. Thank you for all keeping up your practice. It's lovely to see you all online with me. I just finished a level 2 video that was all about the svadhistana chakra, which is our emotional center and the element of water. So I'm feeling very flowy and very pelvic centered. So we're going to do some somatic movements now for the pelvis. I like to call it rockin' the pelvis. So that's what we're going to do. So take your mat. If you need a pillow for your head, grab your pillow, the usual props. If you want a blanket on top of your mat for extra padding, please feel free to do that. So we're going to come immediately down onto our back side and do some breathing here first. Coming onto your back, you can draw your knees into your chest. And here's where it all starts. Rocking into your pelvis, make some circles with your knees and just define where the back of your pelvis is. Going back and forth, side to side. Feel your sacrum. And then place your feet on the floor. We'll start with some abdominal breathing. So if you'd like, you can place your hands on the abdomen, and I like to bring my tips of my thumbs together and the tips of my index fingers, creating a triangle, which is Trimurti Mudra. And you place your thumbs right in the navel center, and that triangle point down at your feet or your pelvic floor. And see if you can begin to direct your breath into your abdomen. And no struggling or straining. Just moving the abdomen. And you might feel more movement above your hands. That's okay. You can always adjust your hands if that's better. But even if the movement is more in the upper abdomen, center your awareness in the space of the low abdomen and this sacral chakra. And even as we're still, the breath is moving the body, and the water inside of the body is moving. Take a moment to acknowledge that movement within the stillness and the sensation that's within stillness. And you can set your intention for your practice. Starting with these low, slow abdominal breaths, we can come back to these anytime to relax us, particularly by making your exhalation a little bit longer and slower than the inhale, or even pausing at that space at the bottom of the exhale. But we'll also be using the abdominal breath to create movement through the pelvis. And it's fairly basic, but we'll start with noticing what the inhale does. So as you're breathing into the belly, feel your abdomen, notice how it rises and fills like a big balloon. And when that happens, you might feel a little lift underneath the low back. So the arch of the low back will lift, or you can even let yourself lift. And as you breathe out, just let it go, let the low back release back into the floor. So this is the basics of breathing for somatics. Inhale, belly lifts, low back lifts. Exhale, just release the low back. And let's say we want to add a little bit more to that. Then as you inhale, press the sacrum and the tailbone forward and into the floor. So you're rolling on to the tip of the tailbone. You're going to feel more arch, more lift through the abdomen. And exhale and come back down. So this is our sometimes called our arch and flatten, or pelvic tilting is what I think of. Just going up right now, inhale, focus on the inhalation, lifting the low back. So the low back will arch and shorten as the abdomen expands. And exhale, come back down. So it should feel very soothing. Inhale, tailbone presses into the floor, belly lifts. Exhale, just naturally release the low back to the floor. And let's do 5 more rounds, focusing on that little bit of extra effort to lift and shorten the low back and lift the abdomen on the inhale. And just the natural release on the exhale. So that gives an opportunity to stretch the abdominal muscles and stretch the pelvic floor. Now let's see what it feels like to actively contract the abdominal muscles and perhaps the pelvic floor. So on that, we focus on the exhalation. So now as you're exhaling, instead of just emptying, draw the front of the abdomen in. Think of your abdomen like a clock face from the pubis to the navel center and your two hips. As you're exhaling, that clock face is drawing in towards the center of the clock. And you can feel that a little bit more if you press the low back and low ribs into the floor, or even lift the tailbone slightly off the floor, lengthen the low back. Inhale, just release to neutral. Exhale, draw in through the abdominal wall, gently press low back, low ribs into the floor, feel your tailbone lift. So we're focusing now more on the pelvis tilting towards our chin and down into the floor, the top rim. Or you can think of it as exhalation contracts the front side of the body as the back side lengthens. The basic way that we use the breath in somatics. So now let's do 5 more rounds. See if you can just be active on the exhalation, drawing in through the abdominal wall. You can think of the diamond shape of the pelvic floor, draw that towards the navel center on exhale. Just release it on inhale. Let the abdomen and the pelvic floor float up without pressing it. And then once we find each of those individually, we put it together into the pelvic rocking. So now inhale and purposely fill the belly, press the tailbone and sacrum into the floor, feel your low back arch. Exhale, draw the low back and low ribs into the floor, lift the tailbone, draw the navel center and the pelvic floor in. The simplicity of this arch and curl. And as soon as I go into the full thing, you'll notice my head starts to move and groove along with it. The natural movement of the head is to flow with the pelvis, or the neck to flow with the pelvis. So we have these 2 curves, secondary curves in our spine, that of the lumbar area, the low back, and that in the neck. And let's focus on that for a moment. As you're breathing in and you're coming onto the tailbone, the belly fills and low back arches, the back of the neck will get long. So one curve, the lower curve, will arch and get shorter as the other curve lengthens. That's the neck. And then as you exhale, just the opposite. Press low back, low ribs into the floor. The low back will lengthen. Your chin goes away from the chest, and the curve in the back of the neck will shorten, or you'll feel more of an arch in the neck. So inhalation will curve the low back, flatten the neck curve. Exhalation will flatten the low back, curve the back of the neck. So what we feel is just a movement of the pelvis initially. The rocking of the pelvis is really a tail to tongue movement. And now you can bring that in through your whole spine. Continue with this arch and curl. Let it feel juicy. Your feet are on the floor. If you feel like it's too much, ground yourself. So we keep in this constructive rest pose so you can feel your feet on the floor, feel that grounding sensation. Do 1 more round. All right. And then we're going to take the legs long. Take the legs long and take your arms just to your sides for a moment. I'm going to keep mine to the side so you can see. We're just going to press one heel forward and release, and then press the other heel forward and release. So you're going to move your pelvis side to side. Press one heel forward and release. And the other. Imagine taking steps. You're lengthening through one hip and release it. And I like to press on the inhale, release on the exhale, press on the inhale, and release on the exhale. Let's add to this the arms. So let's say we're pressing through the left heel, lengthening. Reach the left arm overhead, get long through that left side. Exhale, release. Press through your right heel, reach your right arm overhead, lengthen the right side, exhale, release. So once again, what started with, what perhaps felt like a leg movement, but really it's the pelvis tilting one way or the other, is now an upper body movement too. You can feel it all the way through your side body. Draw the pelvis towards your feet, And your shoulder girdle towards your hand, and then let go. And continue with about 3 more rounds of this side to side. You can let your head just roll from one side to the other. Remember to keep your toes and your kneecap pointing up and press through the heel, press the hip one direction, and let go. Last round, finish your last round. All right, and then once we finish it, now that we stretch one side at a time, let's take our full body yawn. So reach both arms up overhead, arch your back, press through your heels, tighten all the muscles to the bones. You can even make fists if you want, squeeze the muscles in the legs onto the bones, tighten, and then exhale, sigh out your mouth. Oh, let it all go. I want to hear you out there. Make that sigh. Do it again. Be louder. Squeeze the muscles of the bones. Lengthen. So we're tightening and lengthening that pendiculation. Feel all of that tightness, and then you can even squeeze your face. Exhale. Let it go. I see that on camera. Squeeze your face. Let it go. Relax. All right. Feet back to the floor. Knees bent back into the constructive rest. So now we're going to do a little bit more with that tilting. Bring your awareness into your left hip. So again, we're just riding the waves of the pelvis. And on your inhalation, you're going to lift your left hip up off the floor. So what's really easy to do is to press into the foot and move the whole leg line. I want you to try to keep your leg muscles relaxed. Squeeze the muscles on the outer hip. Think of your outer hip and buttocks. So lift it up off the floor and then release it back down. I'm just keeping my hand at my side to keep it out of the way so you can see. So you should feel a little squeeze through your glutes and your outer hip as you inhale and lift the hip, and exhale, drop it back down. And the other thing is feel it from the back side. So on the exhalation, you should have about equal weight resting in both sides of the pelvis. As you inhale, notice how you'll roll through your sacrum. The weight will go through your sacrum and into your right hip. At the top of the inhale, you're resting on your right hip. As you exhale, you're coming back down. Let that left hip release, equal weight in both hips again. So roll through your back waistline and then slowly set that back waistline back down. The other way I'll visualize this one is from the front. Imagine you have a marble or a drop of water in the center of your lower abdomen. As you lift the left hip, that marble will roll to the right hip. And then drop the left hip back down, the marble rolls back to the center of your abdomen. So if there's an image you can bring in to help feel this, go ahead and do that. Lifting up that left hip and releasing. So it's still this contraction, but now we're contracting the outer hip muscles on the inhale, and we're releasing on the exhale. Let's do one more for that left hip. And let go. Same thing, right hip. So sometimes one side's a little bit stickier, it doesn't respond right away, but watch you're not pushing into your foot. Keep your leg relaxed. See if you can squeeze the muscles on the right hip and lift it up. And I say that because this is my sticky side. It doesn't always go right away. I need to focus a little bit more. Think of squeezing the muscles in and around your buttocks and your outer hip, and then lifting up. So there's a rotation. What's happening is the hips are rotating to the left. And you can feel it through your back line again. As you breathe in, feel your weight roll through the sacrum and into the left hip. As you breathe out, slowly set your sacrum back down, and then the left or right hip comes back down, weight in both sides equally. And checking to see you can find your end point at the top of the inhale as far as you can lift. And then release completely on the exhale. The other one I like to add to this is turning the head towards the right shoulder as the right hip lifts. Exhale, let the head roll back to the center. Otherwise, just focus on making it a pelvic movement. All right, do one more with that right hip. And then we're going to add arms, possibly head to this, and we're going to alternate sides. So just like think of walking, right? One leg goes forward, then the other. Left hip As you inhale, lift the left hip up, roll onto the right hip. Exhale, relax down. Inhale, right hip lifts up. Exhale, relax down. So if you want to add the arms to this, as the left hip lifts, reach your left arm overhead. You can also roll your head towards your left shoulder. So feel the arch through that left waist, the tightening, and then exhale, let it go. Inhale, right hip lifts, reach your right hand overhead. You can turn your head towards your right shoulder. Exhale, release. So going side to side, whichever hip is lifting, squeeze the muscles in that buttocks. You can reach the opposite hand overhead, roll your head towards that hand that's reaching. Exhaling back. And think of when we did that full body stretch, right? It's still that pandiculation movement of tightening the muscles, hugging them to the bones, then reaching and lengthening, and then releasing all that back to that space of grace. And if you're not feeling the release, take an extra breath on the bottom of the exhale, extra round of breath. And then the opposite is true. If you want to find your end point, lifting up, you can squeeze and hold. Still breathe though, don't stop breathing, but squeeze and hold for a few breaths. Feel how tight that left butt cheek can be, the arch through the left waist. Then as you breathe out, let it all go. You can do the same thing with the right side, lifting and squeezing. Head can roll to the right shoulder. And letting that go. Relax. This time we're going to take our feet a little bit wider than the hips, and we're going to do some windshield wipers with one leg. So you can lengthen if you need to do anything else in between, hug your knees in or anything like that, please do that. But one leg at a time. So this is our internal rotation for the hip and thigh. So similar to that arch, but we're going to get a little bit deeper into the leg line now in the hip. So feet are wide. You're going to do your left leg first. Feel the big toe side of your left foot. As you inhale, now you're going to, instead of just lifting that hip, reach the hip forward too. Reach the inner left knee towards the front right quarter of the mat. And then exhale, come back up. Inhale, reach that leg forward. And exhale, come back up. Doing just the leg first, so it should feel somewhat familiar. Then you can initiate this from your pelvis, from those muscles that we were just using in the buttocks. You can also initiate from your foot, tipping onto the big toe side of the foot. So that's a whole different feeling. Like we talk about proprioception, which is balance is part of proprioception, but feeling your leg move from your foot, initiating from the foot versus the hip. Let's do one more for that left side. And then coming back, and then we'll go the opposite way. So you're going to inhale onto the big toe side of the right foot, reach that right thigh bone forward, lift that way so you still feel your weight go into your left hip, and there's still the arch through the right back. Exhale, come back up. What I'm trying not to do is let both legs fall all the way to the left. I'm going to try to keep this left kneecap pointing upward and just reach that right hip up and forward. Exhale, release. Reaching up and forward and exhaling and releasing. Let's do one more with the right leg. And then once again, we're going to alternate. So big toe side of left foot, reach that thigh bone inward and forward. So lengthen through that thigh bone, but tighten too. Feel your rib cage through your left side. Exhale, come back. Inhale, left or right leg, reaching forward and inward. See if you can keep the left foot flat on the floor as the right knee goes in. And alternating sides, just let your head roll. Rocking the pelvis side to side. Think of that water element. You can still be doing your soft belly breaths if you'd like. Inhale, belly fills as the back arches and tightens. Exhale, let it come down. You can also add your arms to this movement. As you inhale onto the big toe side of the left foot, reach your left arm overhead. Now try turning your head towards your right shoulder. Exhale, come back, leg and arm. Inhale, turn towards your left shoulder. Reach that right thigh bone inward. Reach your right arm overhead. Exhale back. Think of just walking with your pelvis. Again, the option to initiate from your feet. Let's do one more round to each side. Hopefully it's feeling nice and gooey, starting to wake up the pelvis. And back to the center. This time take the knees into your body if it's comfortable and just roll on your low back a bit. You can rock side to side again. Feel that back space of the pelvis. All right. And then now we're going to keep the feet so that the big toe side of the feet are touching. So your feet are closer together. My ponytail's falling out. Feet are closer together, maybe even touching if that's available. Starting with left leg again. You're going to inhale and drop onto the pinky toe side of the left foot. Let the thigh bone drop open, but I'm not letting both legs fall over. I'm just letting that left leg open up. As you exhale, now you're going to feel your inner thighs, and you can also use your abdominal muscles and your pelvic floor muscles. As you exhale, hug that thigh bone back in. Draw in through the navel center and the pelvic floor. Press low back, low ribs into the floor. Inhale, open up the left leg. Let it fall. Exhale, squeeze it back in, draw in through your navel center too, just like we did in the pelvic rocking. Inhale, let it drop open. Exhale, draw in. So do two more for this left leg. Inhale, drop open, and my right leg is staying planted. If it's rocking all over, you can put a hand on it. Inhale, drop open. And exhale, close. Let's do the opposite leg. So big toes together. Inhale, drop the right leg open. Keep that left leg still and quiet. Exhale, hug the inner thighs and draw in through the navel center and the pelvic floor muscles. Inhale, drop open, right leg. Exhale, hug in, so you're going to feel those inner thighs, those adductor muscles lift the weight of the leg, but also the outer, the front of the abdomen and the pelvic floor muscles. I don't know where my brain is today. Too relaxed. Inhale, drop open, and exhale and close. We're going to do that same thing, both legs, and then we're going to put this all together. Now you want to inhale, fall, both legs dropping open. Exhale, hug the thighs together, draw in through the navel center. You might even lift your tailbone, press low back, low ribs into the floor. Inhale, rock onto your tailbone. So now we can add that pelvic tilting in. So low back, low ribs lift. Exhale, hug the thighs together. As you do the pelvic tilting, see if you can make it a tail to tongue movement again. So the chin will tuck away from the chest as the thighs hug together. Chin comes towards the chest as you drop the thighs open. We're leading up to something big. Some of you guys might know where we're going with this one. But just working from the lower half of the body, focusing on pelvis first. That tilting, that what we call anterior forward tilting in the pelvis on inhale. Posture tilting on the exhale. Just going back and forth. Letting those legs open. Let's do two more rounds. Let your head just swim along with the legs. All right. And then you can either take your legs out long because maybe your knees need to come out of that compressed position. Shake your legs out. You can dribble your legs on the floor like basketballs. If it's more comfortable to leave your legs long for a little bit, do that. We're going to work into the upper body for a moment. Or you can come back into your constructive rest. Actually, my favorite place for my pelvis is knees bent, letting the inner knees fall together. So just supporting one knee supports the other on the inside. Then arms to your sides. We're going to take our arms, and I will do the exhalation first with this one. As you exhale, think of your upper arm bones like rolling pins. Roll them in towards the center of your heart and turn the backs of the hands towards one another. And squeeze your arm bones towards one another. Think of trying to touch the head of the arm bones towards each other, shortening the space between the collarbones. And then inhale, just relax your arms back down. Exhale, roll inward with the arm bones and squeeze. Inhale, release. So you're overemphasizing that squeezing, and you'll feel your upper back stretch just slightly. Let's do one more there. Squeeze in and release. Now we'll go the opposite side, and when we go the opposite direction of the arms, so these spirals of the arms, you can keep your arms and just slide them on the floor instead of lifting up if you'd like, or lift them. So now the arm bones are going to externally rotate. So think of if your palms are starting down, flip your palms up towards the sky and thumbs towards the back wall, and maybe even go further so the thumbs are pointing downward. So externally rotate the arm bone, and then reach it up overhead. Exhale, slide it back down. So doing both arms, and you'll roll those arm bones out. You might have to clear space. I do. Exhale, come back. So rolling the arm bones. And now notice as you reach over how your back is arching away from the floor, your upper back, and your weight rests on the tops of the shoulders at the top of the inhale. Exhale, release the center of the spine to the floor. Inhale, roll. Chin comes towards the chest. Exhale, chin away from the chest. Now let's add those two parts of the arms together. So your inhale, roll the arm bones away from you. Chin towards the chest. Exhale, chin away, roll your arm bones together. Press your low back and low ribs to center your spine into the floor. So notice the tailbone's lifted and the upper shoulders are lifted. So there's this curl in the spine at the top of the exhale, or bottom of the exhale. As you inhale, there's an arch in the spine, and not just the low back, but the whole spine at the top of the inhale. So it's arching and curling still, pelvic tilting, but now the whole spine is going along for the ride. Still chin towards the chest on the inhalation, chin away from the chest on exhalation. Enjoy. When we're ready to add, or if we're ready to add the legs to this, bend your knees and place your feet on the floor. Almost forgot about the legs because I was so happy with moving my arms. See, I need to be watching somebody, so I remember all these nuances. Feet to the floor, and as you roll your arm bones out, you're going to drop your feet open. As you exhale, hug the inner thighs and bring your arm bones up. Hug your inner elbows. Inhale. Into the arch, drop your legs open. Exhale, curl, lift the tailbone, lift the backs of the upper shoulders. Inhaling into the arch, legs drop open. And exhaling and curling. So if you need to still watch me do it, otherwise close your eyes and do 5 to 10 more of these with your breath. Notice how you can move the whole body from your pelvis, the center of the universe, right? The center of your universe. And there's that contraction of the front body at the bottom of the exhalation, and the contraction of the back body at the top of the inhalation. Still there, just like when we started with the pelvic tilting. Or think of the spaciousness of the front body and the top of the inhalation, and the spaciousness of the back body at the bottom of the exhalation. All still there for your pure enjoyment. Do 2 more rounds wherever you are. Last one. All right. Please feel free to hug your knees into your chest. You can rock on your low back, roll side to side. And we'll be leaving this space of our back body, and we're going to roll all the way onto our front side, which means I need to get my microphone clip out of the way. But take your time. Remember, we like to just roll over like you're rolling over in bed. Oh, make some groans, yawn. Any bodily noises are always encouraged. And come down onto the floor. So now we get to feel our pelvis from the front side. Let the front side of the pelvis rest on the earth. I get all excited about that. As you can see with my smile, you can cross opposite hand to elbow if you'd like. I can't go all the way down because you won't hear me because of my microphone, but you can rest your forehead to the floor and just jelly roll your legs again. Or you can roll your toes under and basketball bounce your thighs. Shift your hips side to side. And as you shift your hips, do so mindfully so you can feel the front of your pelvis. Notice the soft part of the low abdomen, your pelvic bones where they're touching the floor. Let your upper body rest and relax. And now I want you to come back into the belly breath. And feel the power of that belly breath now as you inhale, purposely pressing the abdomen into the earth. And notice how your low back will rise up slightly. And as you breathe out, just let go of that breath and feel how the earth comes into your abdomen. It's like the earth just intrudes right into your abdomen and you release into the ground. So feeling yourself through your breath on the earth, the softness of the abdomen, but this position affords a little more space through the front of the body. You might even feel a little stretching through the skin in the abdomen and the lower ribs. Take about 5 more breaths into the abdomen, and if your low back feels like it's at all uncomfortable, on the exhalation, draw your tailbone down to the floor and lift the low abdomen just slightly to lengthen the low back. We're just looking to lengthen the low back. All right, and we're going to stretch the front of the abdomen with a nice low and slow baby cobra. So when we do the baby cobra, you'll want to take your arms out to your sides, either like cactus arms, if that's most comfortable. You can keep your head or chin on the floor. Again, I'm not doing that because of my microphone, but you can also do more of a diamond shape of arms. The idea is to take the arms out of the playbook. So we're not lifting ourselves with the power of the arms. We're going to lift ourselves with the power of the back and spine, and even your low back and your glutes. So think of your glutes as the back of the pelvis, right? And that's the part we sit on. But that's part of your pelvis. So we want to use the glutes and the hamstrings in the backs of the thighs. So resting either on your forehead or your chin. We're going to find that belly breath. Take an inhale, pressing belly into the floor. As you exhale, draw the belly in and keep it in. See if you can keep it contracted. Now inhale into the chest and the lungs, the ribs. Lift slightly up. As you exhale, release everything. Come all the way down onto the right cheek and let go. Take another round of inhalation. Press the whole front body into the floor if you'd like. Expand through the ribs, the chest, the lungs, the belly. Exhale, draw the navel center in, and you can tilt that tailbone down to the floor. So think of your pelvic tilting, right? Press that tailbone downward. Draw your navel center and your pelvic floor in. Keep that. Inhale, float up with the upper body. This time you're going to exhale, roll onto the right cheek. Rest onto your right cheek. Let all the muscles relax. Take another round of breath. So what we're trying to do is to actively contract the lower abdominal muscles before we lift up into the back bend. So what will support us in the back bend that way is not only the front or the back of the pelvis, the glutes and the hamstrings, like to whack myself in the butt, but also the lower abdominal wall, those abdominal muscles. We want to activate those as well. And just think of the opposite of your pelvic tilting on your backside. So now when we were on the backside, you were exhaling and lifting your tailbone, right, to draw in through the navel center. So now on your front side, on the exhalation, you're drawing your tailbone down to the floor because we're just flipped over. So drawing that tailbone down will draw the navel center in, and that's what we're going to do. So we'll do a couple more of these together, and if you've got it, then you don't need to follow my cueing. Keep your arms relaxed. Take a full inhalation. Exhale, draw in through the navel center and lower abdomen, draw the tailbone down to the floor. Keep that action. Inhale, breathe into your ribs, your chest and lungs, so this is really good for respiratory. Reach forward and upward, not with the head, but the whole spine, collarbones lift. Exhale, turn onto one cheek, come all the way down and rest. Take another inhalation. Exhale, draw in through the navel center, press the tops of the thighs into the floor, the tailbone. Inhale, float forward and upward, long spine, arms are relaxed. Exhale, turn on to the opposite cheek. Rest everything, the backs of the thighs, the buttocks, the abdomen. Take an inhale, feel that restful space. Exhale, tailbone down to the floor, draw the navel center up and in. Keep that inhale, breathe into your ribs and your chest and your lungs. So you're redirecting your breath into your upper half of your body, your chest cavity, lifting and exhaling, coming all the way down. So these are these baby cobras, and what you can do is really think of your breath helping to support you first and then lift you. Another exhalation, draw in through the navel center. Inhale, float up. Exhale, release. So think of both the front and the back of the pelvis. On the exhalation, you're going to contract the lower abdominal muscles, the front of the pelvis, and feel your glutes and hamstrings. Then inhale with the strength of all that support around your pelvis. Reach up and out through your spine. Exhale, release down. Watch sure we're not trying to use our arms. Keep the arms relaxed. If you need more of a release, stop and shift your hips side to side, or you can even take your legs and rock them back and forth a little bit. Let's do about 3 more rounds. Pause for a moment. We'll guide you through them. Taking a full inhalation, feel how the front body presses into the ground. Exhale, draw the lower abdominal area away from the ground. Draw the tailbone down towards the floor. Press thighs down into the floor. Inhale, breathe into the ribs and the chest and lungs. Lift up. Exhale, slowly release down into gravity onto one cheek. And then feel that complete release at the bottom of the exhale. Take a full inhale. Exhale, draw in through the navel center, tailbone down. Inhale, float the ribs, the chest, the lungs upward and forward. Exhale, let the cheek and the heart float back down. Release the abdomen, the buttocks muscles, the thighs. Take a full inhale. Exhale, tailbone down, draw the navel center in. Inhale, lift up. And exhale onto the opposite cheek. Those are our baby cobras. Oftentimes after doing those, because that counts as back bends, you may feel like you want to either press back into a child's pose to decompress the low back. If that's in your practice, you can absolutely do that. If you want to roll back onto your backside and hug your knees into your chest, because that's just a happier space for your knees, then roll onto your backside, and you can roll the sacrum into the floor. All right. And then we're going to come up to seated. We're going to finish with a couple of seated postures today. And these are more, it's the legs moving, but it's good for the hips and the pelvis. So you're going to come into seated. If you want to sit with your back up against a wall, you can. We'll be here for less than 10 minutes. So you're going to take the legs out in front of you. And you want to have space in front of you, and preferably not on your really super sticky mat. So hopefully you have, even if you have carpet or something you can get a little bit of slip on, a little bit of slide. I've benefiting greatly from the wood floor. So if you've got like 2-inch, 3-inch shag carpeting at home, it might not work for you. See how it goes. If you have 3-inch yellow shag carpeting at home, let me know. That's what I had in my bedroom growing up. That's my favorite. Take your hands behind you. Take a moment there. And your legs are extended. And just shake them out. We're going to take them for a little swim first. The pelvis likes to swim. Remember, it's the water element. So you're going to inhale. We'll do both legs together. You're going to turn your toes outward and slide your legs away from one another. As you exhale, turn your toes inward and slide your legs towards one another. Inhale, toes out, slide out. Exhale, toes in. And so it's the legs that are swimming, but notice the action that's involved in the outer hips and inner thighs. And you can even think on inhalation, you're going to feel engagement through those outer hips. And the pelvic floor stretches and the abdomen can stretch because we're breathing in. As you exhale, draw in through your navel center and the pelvic floor. Hug your inner thighs together. So make this not just a movement for the leg muscles, but get the pelvis engaging in responding or even leading. Inhaling and opening. Exhale, draw in through your pelvic floor muscles up and in the abdominal wall. So the same movement that we felt in our pelvic tilting. It's a little more advanced, and if you're not feeling the pelvic floor lift or recoil in the abdominal muscles, that's okay. Then just enjoy the swimmy legs for today. And we'll do one more round of swimming. Back and forth. And relax. We're going to place the feet on the floor and just do some windshield wipers. Exhale, drop your knees to one side. And now you can lift both legs up, inhaling up. And exhale, drop to the other side, just to get that movement through the hips, side to side. Back up and down. All right. So now we're going to take all of that into play together. Take the legs out in front of you. Sit up tall, so watch so we're not in slouchasana here, right? Lift up onto the sit bones and the tailbone. So that's your base of support for the spine. That's the bottom of your pelvic bowl, right? If we think of the pelvis as a bowl, we don't want to be sitting to the back of the bowl on the sacrum. We want to be sitting right in the bottom of the bowl. But you can take your hands behind you to help support you. We'll start by leaving your right leg long. Feel your left leg, and you're going to take your left leg and you're going to bend the knee and slide the inner foot up the right leg line. And then drop it open so you feel a nice stretch in that inner thigh. And then lift it up, so I'm flat-footed. Then you're going to take the left leg across the right leg. If you come onto the ball of the foot, that's okay. Let that left hip rotate to the right. Come back and slide the leg back out. So that's the movement. Slide in, drop open to the left, lift up, drop open to the right. So we're still making those little pelvic rotations or spirals. And here, if I'm not doing it, I'm not cueing it yet to my breath, and you certainly don't have to, because this is a pretty complicated movement. We're doing so many movements, right? If you choose to do it to your breath, just for timing's sake, and to encourage that pelvic floor and abdominal contraction, which has to happen on exhalation, then we do this. Your leg is long on inhale, and then you're going to lift that leg up on exhalation, or drag it in on exhalation. Inhale, drop it open. Exhale, lift it up. Inhale, take it across. Exhale, back. Inhale, leg long. Exhale, slide the left heel in. Think of drawing the heel in towards the pelvic floor. Pelvic floor and abdominal muscles lift up. Inhale, drop the leg open. Exhale, lift up. Inhale, take it across. Exhale, back. Inhale, extend it. Let's do about 3 more. So don't have to do it to the breath, but it's there for you. Exhale, draw in through the heel. Pelvic floor lifts. Abdominal wall comes in. Inhale, drop the leg open. Exhale, lift it up, hug that inner thigh. Inhale, take it across. Exhale, back. Inhale, lengthen the leg out. 2 more. Take an exhalation, slide the heel towards the perineum. Inhale, drop the leg open. Exhale, lift up, hug the thighs together. Inhale, take the hip across to the right. Exhale back. Inhale. What did I say? 2 more? Let's do 1 more. Exhale, slide the heel up. Inhale, drop the leg open. Exhale, lift up. Inhale across. Exhale back. Let that left leg lengthen. Okay, a couple thoughts in between. First of all, if your wrists are giving you grief, you can just move them around or take your hands together, make some figure 8s with your wrists. You can do your chicken wings, slide your backs of your hands underneath your rib cage and flap your wings at me. Or if you want something more for the low back, place your feet on the floor before we do the second leg, and you can wrap your hands around your thighs and just rest. Rest into your body, rock into your body, stretch that low back out. Pause between the 2 sides. Our lovely pelvis. And then coming back up. Legs will go long once again. Watch that we're not going into that slumpasana, so tilt your pelvis forward. Come onto the sit bones and the tailbone. You can take your hands behind you. The other thing is, if your wrists are giving you grief, you can be on fingertips or you can make fists. That will help your wrists. So fists or fingertips will work. Oh, you're working with the right leg this time. So sensing the length of the leg before we add the breath to it, just find the movement. So you're going to turn the sole of the right foot towards the inner left leg line, slide the heel up towards the perineum, drop the right leg open, lift it back up, take the right leg across to the left, come back to flat foot, extend the leg out. Let's do a few more just in the finding the movement. Slide the sole of the foot. Sometimes it takes a little focus, right? Drop it open, lift it up, and take it across. Come back, take it out. So I usually feel like once I can do this with my eyes closed, so then I know it's more in my felt sense than, oh my gosh, I'm really thinking about it and I'm trying to intelligently create this movement. No, I don't. Once I don't have to do that anymore, then I know that I can add the breath to the movement and then work on using the breath to create that strength and stability through the abdominal wall and the pelvic floor. So do 1 more and see if you've got the movement, the rhythm of the joint movements. And then if it's there for you today, we'll add the breath. So adding the breath, come onto the sit bones. As you exhale, slide the right heel towards the perineum. Inhale, drop the weight of the right thigh open. Exhale, lift up, hug the inner right thigh line. Inhale, take the right leg across. Exhale back. Inhale, extend the right leg. Exhale, slide it in. Inhale, drop it open. Exhale, lift up, hug. Inhale across. And exhale back. Inhale, extend the leg. So now think of pelvic floor and abdominal wall. As you exhale, slide the heel in, recoil that pelvic floor and the abdominal wall, draw in. Inhale, drop the leg open, fill the belly. Exhale, draw in through the navel center, knee comes up. Inhale, fill the belly as the hip goes across, feel that nice stretch. Exhale, draw in. Inhale, extend. Exhale, so as the heel draws in, the abdominal wall and the pelvic floor draw in. Inhale, leg drops open, belly stretches. Exhale, press foot into the floor, lift the knee. Inhale, take it across. Exhale back. So remember that doing this one to the breath in particular is a lot more advanced. So do about 3, 5 more. And do what feels good for you today. So even just the joint movement is fantastic, right? But if you want to add that awareness and awakening of the lower abdominal muscles and the pelvic floor muscles for the loveliness of the pelvis, you can. But either way, your pelvis is quite lovely, I'm sure. Even if you're practicing in your pajamas right now. We're gonna have a pajama day, by the way. Not this class, but you're all gonna be invited to do a pajama day yoga practice. Let's do one more wherever you are. Inhale, or exhale, slide the heel up, draw in through the pelvic floor. Inhale, drop the leg open onto that pinky to toe side. Exhale, lift up, hug the thighs. Inhale, take it across. Exhale, back down. Inhale, lengthen the leg. Nice. Okay, that's it. We're gonna come back down onto our back side, getting ready for Savasana. But first, come down, hug your knees in, and reclaim your position on your backside, particularly through your sacrum and your pelvis. So we want the upper back and shoulders to relax and the head and neck. So if you'd like a pillow, anything underneath your head, please do that. But claim the space in the back of the pelvis. Let it feel the ground underneath it. And options for the legs. Of course, if you like your legs long, you can do that. But oftentimes long legs are happier if we put a bolster or something. You can grab pillows off your couch at home, right? Put something underneath your knees. Also the option to do what I did earlier, which is your heels slightly wider than your hips, turn your big toes in and let your inner knees fall together. So this is a really nice relaxation position for the sacrum. I think we did that in I did my grumpy sacrum class for you, right? That was in there. Or any other position that feels good for your legs, wherever you want your arms. Find that spot. Let's take a moment to come into these spaces. If you like Baddha Konasana with the soles of the feet touching, leave a comment. Tell me how your Shavasana feels. What position do you find physically? And I'm just going to guide you for a moment to feel into the space of your feet. Notice your toes, maybe even wiggle your toes. Soles of the feet and the tops of the feet. Sense your ankles, your shins and your calves. Bring your awareness into your knees, the fronts and the backs of the thighs. And just take a moment to feel yourself from the toes all the way up into the hip crease. Think of the whole circumference of your hip crease as where your legs come into your pelvis, and just be present in your legs. You can think of the tissues of the legs, the joints. From the legs, bring your awareness into the base of the spine, the pelvic floor, the bottom of your pelvic bowl. So in working with our awareness in the legs and the base of the spine, we bring ourselves into the Mooladhara Chakra. Mula means root. And I've been reading and hearing a lot about the importance of staying grounded right now more than ever. I believe it to be true. Just by allowing your awareness go into your legs and the base of the spine, you physically bring yourself into your root, into the Mooladhara Chakra. And the Mooladhara just wants to be assured that you have everything you need to survive. It's our most basic, primitive survival instincts. And when those are threatened, we are what we say ungrounded. So the scarcity mentality that we've been seeing with people buying too much of this, that, and the other, that is a imbalance in the Mooladhara Chakra. So I encourage you to take a moment and tell yourself that you have everything you need right now. Not only tell yourself that, but have gratitude for those things, for the things, the people, the basic necessities. Just feeling yourself through the legs and the base of the spine. If you see color, you can think of the color red, or the element of earth. The Mooladhara is related to the sense of smell. So smells can really wake up and balance our Mooladhara. So when you're done here today, maybe go out in the garden. I know that my hyacinths are in bloom. Find something to smell, the bark of a tree. Water if you're near water. And know that a smell is not just a smell, it's a way that we ground and nourish ourselves. And in addition to the Mooladhara Chakra, the pelvis also holds space for the svadhistana chakra. And that translates to one's own place. And you can bring your awareness into the low abdomen in the front, or the sacrum in the back, the sacral area. It's governed by the element of water. Just as in this practice we allowed ourselves to move, movement creates feeling, and feeling creates emotion. And it is our emotional center. And it takes us beyond just that desire to survive to the will to live. And that will is about having desires and having passions. It's our space of our reproductive organs. And creative freedom. If you see color, the color is orange. The svadhistana chakra relates to our sense of taste. So perhaps when you're done with this class today, you'll be eating something, breakfast, drinking your tea or coffee. Take the time to let it roll around on your tongue and taste it. If you want to activate both the Mooladhara and the svadhistana, smell it first and then taste it. But be present. In the foods that we eat, not just eating them, but tasting them. And what I did for myself this morning, and I'll encourage you to do when we're done with this class, you can start a mental list now if you'd like, is to write down what your passions are. What is it that lights you up? Recognizing that that can be both in an attractive way and detracted. So you might really want something, or you may really not want something, and that's still passion. Attraction to and repulsion from. And right now that can be a very interesting list because so many things have been taken away from us, so many options. But make the list. And once you've made the list, go through and find out which ones make you feel grounded and nourished, or what brings you joy. So, passions that are positive can bring us desire for joy. Passions that are negative, that we get stuck in, can bring fear. They can bring on that scarcity mentality. Stay physically in this space of the lovely pelvis. Thank your pelvis for all the physical support it gives you. Attaching the upper and lower half of your body. But also recognize the importance of the energetic spaces that the pelvic bowl holds for you. As you feel ready, you can take some soft belly breaths. Thank you for abdomen once again, just moving like water. The rise and the fall. The ebb and flow. Just like a wave, your abdomen will crest at the top. Top of the inhale, and then slowly fall back down into that point of stillness at the bottom of the exhale. Feel yourself from the base of the spine, going all the way through the legs and down to the toes, and you can begin to wiggle your toes, rotate your ankles, finding any other small or full body movements that feel good. Another big full body yawn or hugging your knees into your chest. If you're choosing to stay here a bit longer in your meditative space, please do. I hope you do. That's the beauty of having a home practice. You can go right into meditation. If you'd rather come out, then roll to your side first and come back into a seated position. Wherever you are, in whatever position you're in, I miss you. I'm sending you virtual hugs. Be safe, be well, and be love. Namaste.